Schoology is constantly adding improvements, adding changes, especially in response to requests. And one request that they have had for a while has been the ability to make random tests, um, where you could have a bank of test questions, and then, like if you have 25 questions in a test bank, you could say, I want Schoology to select 10 questions at random from that test bank. They have had that in the past, but what would happen is that if it selected 10 questions at random for a test, then all students would have the same 10 random questions. It's just that the next time you made that test, it would be a different 10 random questions. Now, just 2 days ago, they came out with the ability to set up a test where every student who takes the test will get a random set of questions. So that if you have 25 questions in a test bank and you say, I want every student to have a test that has 10 questions in it at random, every student would have a different set of 10 questions. So here's how you do that. Okay, you're in your class and you have a test. Now one way to set that up is to actually make a test to begin with. So I made a test here called this trial test, and I went through and added questions. Okay, so you add questions, and I just made 5 true-false questions. Okay, obviously they're quite simple. But then when you're done, go over here to Options, and you can click Add Questions to Bank. And then you pick out which questions you want to add to the test bank. Click Next, and then it's going to ask you where do you want to save it. Here you can make a new question bank, like if you want to have a question bank, basically I would say for each unit or each group of things that you want to have on one single test, because that's how it'll work. A question bank would be a set of questions that are designed for one test, or you might pull several tests from it, but you see what I mean. It's like you don't want to mix up a whole bunch of different questions in one question bank. Use questions that you would actually want to show up on the same test or quiz. So I've already done this where I've set up a test bank here for the high school test class, and so you would just click that, and then you click Add Questions, and it's going to add those 5 questions to that test bank. Okay, now that's all you have to do to set it up, to get the questions in the test bank. Now, if you want to add a new test, okay, you want to set up a test for the students to take. We're going to add a test or a quiz. I'm going to name this second trial because I've already tried one of them. And this is going to be a test that's on Monday. We'll give it the test category. Grading scale is standard, and then I'm going to create the test. Now, at this point, you say Add Question. When you add question, it comes down here. You can add question from question banks. So click that. Now, if you click individual questions, that's where you might have a whole bunch of questions that you've already designed, and you want to select you yourself want to select the questions you're going to use. If you select random questions, then you navigate to where your bank is. This was in a group test bank of CCS faculty, high school test class. Now, one thing here to realize is that let's say that you're making up a final exam and you want it to pull from a number of different tests, like every unit that you've taught all year long. Well, you can have each unit here as a test bank, and then for the exam, you can pull from all of those. So anyway, you say select question banks. Now, how many questions do you want? I've got 10 questions in that test bank. Let's say that I want 4. I want each student to have 4 questions, and I want each question to be worth 25 points. Okay, so every student's going to have 4 questions, that'll be 25 points. I'll add the questions. Okay, now you go through the rest of the things like you normally do for making a test or a quiz. I'm going to make this available now. If you leave that hide now, what will happen is the students will see that they have a test on a particular date, but they won't be able to access the test until you make it available. That's a neat thing with the test. You can make it so that the students see that it exists, but they can't get to it until the right time. So we'll make it available now because I want to show you what happens with the student. Okay. And I'm going to say, just for purposes of trying this out, the student can test this, can take this 3 times, just so I can show you how it works. Okay, and then we'll save changes. Okay. Now, let's go to the student view. Here's the student view. And he sees that we've got this second trial. Okay, so we're going to say begin the test quiz. Now, look at what we have here. Question 1, it picked out question 5, question 2, question 4, and question 1 out of my original 10 questions. Okay, picked out those. So we'll just say false, 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 and this one's true. And we'll submit the assessment. Okay. Now, let's say that he didn't do well. We want him to take it again. We'll take it again. Notice the questions we have here now. Question 3, question 2, question 2. The reason there's 2 of those is that I added the same 5 questions to the test bank twice. So that they're actually they would actually be 2 different questions. But you see here, this is a different quiz than what he had before. It's drawing from the same test bank, but it's a different quiz. So we'll answer true, we'll miss some here, and do that. And we'll click submit. Okay, so that's how the random test generator will work. You can set up test banks. You can set up banks of questions. There's another video that talks about importing them from something like TestGen so that you can import a whole bunch of questions, and then you could give them a test that draws randomly from those questions.